Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me is my co-host Sheikh Amr Saeed Al Baghdadi. Uh, we have a special show for you guys this afternoon. Sheikh, you're frozen. I thought he was really upset with my joke. He had this. His camera was so still for a second. I'm like, man, he did not like that a joke at all. Okay, so anyway, alhamdulillah. We have a wonderful show for you guys this afternoon. Make sure you click on like and subscribe and help us on patreon.com/ the Mamluks and help us out in any way you can. We certainly appreciate Patreon supporters. These are the supporters that help us through all kinds of endeavors related to keeping the podcast up and running. You all are in my duas every night because this podcast would not be happening without you. Please welcome.
What was that link again you said?
Patreon.com/
Patreon.
the Mad Mamluks. All right, and our guest today, Dr. Fahad Khan, he is a psychologist out of the Khalil Center. He has recently authored a book, How to Keep It Together in These Insane Times. I completely butchered the name, didn't I?
Together.
How to maintain your sanity during these insane times.
Yeah. How to keep your wits about you in these insane times. Got it. I'll put a link to the book in the episode descriptions for you guys to download. It's a few bucks. Help us out and download the book and get benefit. Don't just help us out. Just support. Read it and pass on that knowledge to your family. We're in some crazy times. What made you write the book, Dr. Fahad?
So, two things. One was I was trying to find ways to like help people out because a lot of people were asking the same questions. A lot of my clients, a lot of people were just texting me randomly and asking the same type of questions like, what do I do right now? I'm kind of having too much anxiety and whatnot. And so I figured that I should have something so that I could refer people to. It was easier that way.
Yeah.
And then, between making a video and, doing a podcast, I'm not good at any of this. I'm not very good at speaking and creating any kind of creative videos. So my wife suggested that I should probably just write something.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, we'll give it a shot. Now it's not a full blown book. It's not meant to be. It's supposed to be a very quick read. And I'm not trying to make money out of it. I think if anyone wants a free copy, I can just email them a PDF. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's just meant to be a guide where people can just go back and refer to some basic principles, some practical things that they can do, so they don't go crazy right now.
Yeah, it's a small book, kind of like Al Ghazali's little tiny book chapters that he calls them books.
So how many pages is this book about?
I think the paperback is 100 pages. If you go on get a PDF, it's 50, 60 pages. It's not that
big.
Yeah. No, I saw the. So when I saw the title online, I saw it publicized on Facebook, and I think there was even something. The link took you to Amazon too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for the individual that doesn't know what's inside of this book, when I see the title, I think of a few things. Number one, the first thing that comes to mind is why people can get lots of anxiety is it's the realm of the unknown, and we've been feeling that for the past month and a half. We really don't know what direction this is going in. The mind starts to wander. Some people are coming out with some conspiracy theories on the face value. They seem pretty interesting, and then the dilemma is in a desperate situation, conspiracy theories, people gravitate to them a lot faster. That's one thing I've noticed is people that I knew that were completely non-conspiracy theorists. In this past week, I've met at least 3 people or talked to people over the phone which are completely convinced of some conspiracy theories, right? Some pretty respectable people too. So unpack this a little bit for us. Is this where the anxiety is? The majority of people that talk to you, where is this anxiety coming from?
So I think that there's a whole bunch of things. The realm of unknown, clinically, I refer to it as uncertainty, and that's the term that they use in a lot of anxiety books. Like OCD happens because of, or the anxiety in OCD happens because of uncertainty. So, for example, if someone thinks their hand's dirty and they're not certain, so they want to wash it, they want to get rid of the uncertainty. Or someone thinks that the door's unlocked, or the door's not, like, the stove is not, fully closed or whatever. So they want to keep checking it again and again. So yes, part of it is that uncertainty, and I think that even from an Islamic perspective, if we leave room to, if there's a lot of uncertainty in any situation, even in relationship, that leaves room for anyone to occupy that, right? So shaitan can come in if there's uncertainty, or if there's things that are left unsaid between, say, husband and wife, or any relationships, and you don't want to leave that room. So our mind tends to gravitate towards making things certain, that no, I don't like this, I want it to be sure about it. But I think beyond that, a lot of the anxiety comes from the fact that we're not meant to be people that are kept in captivity or any kind of like confinement, right? Human beings in general, I think men in specific, they see men in more specific terms, that we're supposed to be people that are supposed to be out and about, taking like working outside of home, and coming back in the evening, and not spending much time with their family. um, and that's kind of hard for people to accept. And
Yeah.
not to mention, if you're forced to do something, right? I talk about that in the book too. Like, if you like chocolate, I'll give you a personal example. I love chicken. Chicken's like my favorite thing ever. My roommate in college used to say, when I was looking, like, I was talking to him about getting married, and he would say, as long as she knows how to cook chicken, you'll be fine. But so I decided in college to go on a diet, and I decided Atkins. I was like, what better diet? I can eat chicken all day, all night. But after like the first week, I hated chicken. It was like, why? Because I was forced to eat chicken. So when you're forced to do something, even if you love it, the result is you're gonna end up hating it. So
Mm.
right now we're forced to stay at home. Even people who love introverts, I'm an introvert too, but just the fact that we're forced to do it, it goes against our very nature. We
Yeah.
need freedom.
Yeah, and it's not just freedom. It's the the so it's so interesting when you see a lot of the memes out there. People who are married are talking about wanting divorces. People who are single, they're saying that the loneliness is killing them.
Hmm.
So it presents like an interesting psychological study, and I think people like yourself are have a really amazing case study with how people are dealing with this thing, because it doesn't seem like people can manage their relationships or just their own psychological upkeep when they're when they're quarantined, or when they don't have the ability to separate themselves from this immediate surrounding of their house.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering, is your case clientele level going up? Are you getting a lot more cases from people in the area, or?
Yeah, we have gotten an increase in demand, and a lot of that is from people who normally wouldn't seek out services. So they were functioning people. I think the problem with that idea of having functionality is that we overlook our anxieties and our uncertainties, and all the existential problems that we're having, and we think that we're okay because we're busy working and doing other things. But when it comes to a point where, like, we're being pushed and we're on edge, then we realize, oh my God, there's a problem, and we need to go seek help. So we're getting a lot of those people now who are, and then we have people who are now, unemployed, and they don't have, like, they're not sure about what's going to happen to the jobs. So a lot of that uncertainty. But I want Sheikh Hamad to actually talk about this. Like, the fact is that nothing in the world is certain, right? The only certainty is death, and that's what we're running away from right now. And I think that if people just accepted that part, as Muslims first of all, but even as general population, if we accepted that, look, we don't have control over anything, that acceptance is going to go a long way in being calm and content with this, which is the will of Allah, right?
Yeah, you know, um, we still, have like teacher meetings and stuff, at school and IFS, via Zoom, and use Zoom as a platform. And I think the this last Friday, this is exactly what I talked about, is that we Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives us a healthy feeling, a part of a feeling of that we have control over certain things, right? But at the end, if we really, really surrender ourselves to Allah, I think the key here is in surrendering. I think surrendering diminishes all types of, gray areas and everything for you. Once true surrender happens to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or for the sake of, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, whatever is certain and uncertain, it doesn't matter because you know you have an appointment with your creator, right? That's all it comes down to. Nothing else matters. One of the realizations that I had, and everyone is having their own realizations, which is why I think this experience is beautiful. People think I'm a little weird when I say it. I think it's beautiful. I found
It was
nothing but
beautiful in the first week, Sheikh. Cut it out.
bro. I'm
I'm
just
done
saying.
with this.
Every week, I'm liking it more and more. For me, in the beginning, I was a little bummed out, but for me, as the weeks go by, I'm loving it more and more. I'm not exaggerating.
I'm joking. There are definite ways to frame your mindset around that. And can you talk a little bit about how you framed your mind so that you can keep your mind, upbeat, productive, so that you don't dwell on, just being cooped up with your kids. We all love our kids, man, but our kids can drive us nuts. They just can, and it's not a fault of theirs. It's not a fault of ours. It's just the way human psychology behaves around so many different personalities in close quarters.
But not only
And
that, we're like used to a culture where we have our breaks, we have our away zones for a while from our families, and we actually like that a lot. Whether it's just going to the store sometimes or just going to the gym, we see that as a way time because we I find that self my before this whole quarantine thing started. You find yourself when you start going a little crazy at home. You don't really need to be at home because there's so much happening. You just like to step out for a little bit. You know what I'm saying, and then come back and you're good. But that's not there too much anymore. You know, yeah. In the first few weeks, we were taking walks outside, and then, household people. I'm not gonna mention any names or personalities, but we're like, there's it's all in the air too, so we gotta be careful. We can't take our kids outside and stuff and all that. But we're gonna go after this podcast, inshallah. We're gonna go out for a drive because we try to do that at least once or twice a week. Just windows down when it's warmer weather. But the thing is that everything's changed. The main thing here is coming back full circle. The world has changed. Everything has changed, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but the only thing that hasn't changed, obviously, is our relationship with Allah. Now, what do I mean by that, right? And obviously, you guys can chime in too. The realization that happens with an individual, especially with intellect, when things are taken away from them. You have the intellectual mind, right, which is the brain, a sane person, what the Sharia talks about, right? You have a sane person, and then all of their avenues of conducting themselves are taken away from them, so they feel like they're confined. The only thing that the human being has, which I felt in myself, is that when you're confined and all avenues are cut off from you, your brain starts speaking to you louder, your mind starts speaking to you louder, and you start to realize things that you didn't realize before, right? And those self chatter that you used to have before, you have to actually kind of start maintaining that. But it's obviously a favor from Allah if He directs that for you, which is one of the most beautiful things as far as our belief in Allah, our aqidah, our tawheed, is our submission of our minds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Mhm.
So our limbs can also submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the mind submits, then the limbs will submit, right? And that's why so much scholars emphasize the study of aqidah and tawheed. The original understanding is that your mind has to submit. Why am I mentioning all this again? Is because then you start to realize that there's going to be a time, inshallah, when all this blows over, and people are going to be much different now. Everyone's going to be different. I just talked to my cousin the other day. He's like, "Bro, I'm not shaking my hand for a few years with people, bro. This vaccine's not going to be here for another 12 months, 10 months, whatever the case is. And even then, I'm going to be careful." Like, it all comes down to this. People the world was full of sicknesses before, but we all shook each other's hand. Is because we didn't have so much exposure to all this information, which is why I think Dr. Fahad can also talk about is another thing of anxiety is people having so much, information and constantly getting updates and constant. They're completely burning themselves out, and then they can't go to sleep at night, dude. You know what I'm saying? But what the ultimate thing is, man. Even when I think about enjoyment and all that kind of stuff, like I'm trying not to be a party pooper, but my mind right now is in the direction of I was like, dude, nothing's gonna last forever. The only thing that's gonna last forever is Jannah. So our striving should only be Jannah, dude. You know, and that's what this quarantining taught me. It's very simple. I think it's very elementary, but it's become so crystal clear to me that no matter how advanced we become, something that can't be seen from the eye has changed us to such a level that the only thing we want to seek comfort is the concept of Jannah. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Dr. Fahad, what about being overwhelmed with so much information? People are constantly being updated and want to be updated.
I
That's
think that speaks to some of the anxiety that we already had before. So people who already had higher levels of anxiety, they're again, it's the uncertainty of it, right? I want to know how many deaths happened today. I want to know what the situation is. Should I be worried? Should I not be worried? It's the control that we want to have over our lives.
We want to know when the
I
curve
think
is
that's
flattening.
exactly right. Right. It's not flattening, just like my stomach. It's not going to flatten. So we just have to accept that, right?
Forget about
But that's
checking the news
but
every
that
morning.
but that control, like earlier Sim, when you said like people having problems with their people want to be divorced or want to be married, because we think that if that happened, somehow our lives would be much better and we'd be happy and satisfied. And the answer to that question is no. You're not,
The problem is
because that
inside your
satisfaction
head.
is not that.
Yeah, the happiness you're looking for is not external. There's an internal problem that you're having, and you've somehow identified an external factor as saying that this will unlock the happiness that you've been seeking and that's been evading you for however length of time. But I think that this is one of those things that can help you figure out your inner state, what it is that makes you tick. When you're away from society, it's almost like a level of fasting. You know, we're about to enter into the month of Ramadan, where we abstain from food and drink and stuff. But well, just going back to what Sheikh Amr said, you know, how this has helped him in a net positive way, where I mean, the guys on this team, they're the closest people in the world to me, and even us, we're hardly ever chatting. And it's not necessarily that we don't care about each other, but you know, we're always, the channels are open for communication related to anything that they need. But in regards to some kind of inner state that we're all kind of rediscovering ourselves, and not like a teenager, man, but I'm talking about discovering our inner state and where our problems lie in our relationship with the world. Can you talk a little bit about that, Dr. Fahad?
So yeah, I read a quote. It was pretty actually kind of stuck with me. It said, "If you can't go outside, go inside, right? Go within your own self." So yeah, I think a lot of those people who are having these kind of existential crises and questions, I think now is a really good time to reflect on that. It's a really good time to reflect on what is the purpose, like Sheikh Amr says, the purpose of life. How's our connection with Allah? How is it that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala can, using just one little thing can make everybody powerless, and how the giving up control and accepting that. So acceptance, I think, is the first part of that. That ultimately the acceptance that we already did, right? When we said Bala to Allah's question, Alastu bi rabbikum, and we all said yes, that He's our Lord. So we should have accepted that from day one, after coming into this world. But because of our own arrogance and help from brother Shaitan, we were led astray. We were thinking that this is like power or control over something, and right now a lot of people are realizing that that's not the case. That we're not, we you're laughing at brother Shaitan.
Dude, I've never heard anybody say brother Shaitan, bro. When you said that, I'm not. Maybe
Technically,
you can diagnose me about this, but as soon as you said that, my heart kind of felt weird. It kind of felt like it went down an inch or something.
when it comes
Like,
down
imagine
to
you
it,
have to say that in Arabic, bro. Imagine you're giving that a khutbah in Arabic, bro. Akhuna Shaitan. What?
I remember somebody at UIC when I was there gave a khutbah and accidentally said Iblis alayhi salam. And half the people in the audience couldn't stop laughing.
That's messed up, dude. You got me hiccuping in my laugh, bro. Anyway,
I said it
technically,
because
isn't Iblis a believer though? Even though he's he's going to go to hell, but Iblis technically believes in everything that is the truth. He just is acting
arrogant,
against
yeah.
everything.
But
Yeah.
by the way, the reason I'm laughing is me and Dr. Fahad have a great history, but if anyone's able to pry into his stories, he's got some amazing life stories. uh, but anyways, we could talk about that towards the end, inshallah. But I'm just every, it's every time I see your face, mashallah, beautiful, handsome face.
You
Now
know,
it has to be via Zoom.
I just remembered we messed up in some names, and I was talking to my daughter, and she was trying to recall Ibrahim Aslam, and she goes, you know that one prophet Dawood Ibrahim? I'm like, honey, that guy's a mobster from India. and yeah, but go ahead, guys. I just I had to throw that out. Dawood
No,
Ibrahim.
no, I said brother because I think we that the issue of control comes. It's the illusion that comes from shaitan, right? It comes
Mm-hmm.
from that like you control it and you got this. You know, you can manage everything in your life. Everything will be okay. At the end of the day, it's the like again the reality is it's there's some systems that Allah has in place, and yeah, if you play the system, the outcome might be whatever you're expecting, but it's not always the case, right? If Allah wants, He can interrupt that system at any point, and He does interrupt it, just like He did right now. You know, we think we had so much control, like like modern medicine and all the countries together. Like we're not even talking about one country competing with another. You know, we cannot fight this small virus that just came out of nowhere. And so, that's where I think internally we have to accept that and let go of that. The other part, which I think is more important, is how this world is meant to be chaotic. You know, this world is not meant to be peaceful and calm and like smooth sailing. It's meant to be a chaos. And if we think otherwise, then we're fooling ourselves.
Mm.
And that's something you get from whether we look at the hadith or my friend my spiritual mentor Iqbal, but we get that because that's the point that he's trying to drill, that we're the ones that are in this illusion that that somehow we can have peace in this world and we can have peace in our lives, and we might be able to get that from time to time, but it's not meant to be forever.
And I think that's just something profound you really just brought up, and I think I would be really curious to jump into that a little bit, just because the idea of chaos in the world, it's not necessarily on an individual level, because as we were just speaking, as an on an individual level, we may be able to attain peace through living a life of righteousness and aligning ourselves with the truth and all that good stuff, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all our lives. But we are in the middle of societies that, with other individuals who don't operate from those same beliefs and those characteristics that bring peace to the world, right? So when all these individuals are intermingling, you are going to have chaotic situations, chaotic scenarios, situations where people, the interaction with people will bring chaos to your life, no matter how peaceful you've no matter what level of peace you've attained through any rigorous intellectual work that you've done in your mind. you know we've heard about the works of the Stoics. Forget self for a second, and the Stoic philosophy about how to walk through a storm, without flinching. It I think it's times like these where you can kind of recenter yourself and bring yourself together and figure out who you are. And when the gates do open and you start interacting with society again, you may be able to survive this chaos a little bit better, so that you can keep your core, your center about you, so you don't fall apart in your various engagements with society. I don't know how you guys
Yeah,
feel
I
about that.
mean, you're right about the issue of other people. Like you can't control other people,
Yeah.
and what how that may affect your peace. But I think that even from the stoicism perspective, like the ability to walk quietly through a storm means that you're accepting the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that storm's not going to affect you; it's going to affect you negatively, but you can decide how much it affects you and how you take that in. I think people when they talk about like So I'll give you one example. In psychology, when we talk about chronic pain, one of the best treatments for chronic pain is acceptance therapy. And part of that is accepting that this is part of who you are. Pain is part of who I am, right? So instead of saying, oh, like I wanted to read a book, but I have a headache or migraine or whatever, I'm going to say that I wanted to read a book and I have a headache. You see what I mean? Like, I'm accepting the pain. So that makes it easier. It doesn't take the pain away from you. Like, you're still gonna feel the pain. That makes sense. I don't know if I confused
Totally.
your
Dude,
thing.
that was profound. That's profound. I think this ties in two things. You guys are mentioning, for instance, the divorced person who said, or the person who's a bachelor who said, "I wish I was married," and the person who's married and said, "I wish I was divorced," to whatever, or this
Yeah.
person is crazy. Number one, the human being is never going to be content. That's one of the things, which is why Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in the Quran says, "وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِم مِّن غِلٍّ." Ghil is the feeling in your heart of not being content with something that's completely stripped in Jannah. That faculty doesn't exist, which means what? It's going to exist here, right? So that wherever we go, human beings never going to be satisfied, right? The Hadith of Sallam, if you give the son of Adam one mountain of gold, he's going to want a second one. If you have one mountain of gold, you're like, dude, I need another one. This is not enough. This is like normal for me now, right? So no matter what situation you're in, we have to understand as human beings that we're never going to be satisfied. Number two is what you were just mentioning about the storm, and um, nobody said that no matter how strong your relationship with Allah is, that you're going to be at ultimate peace in this world. There's no such thing as ultimate peace. There's no such thing as ultimate peace. If this was ultimate peace, then there'd be no need for Jannah. Again, everything comes back to Jannah, and everything comes back to surrendering to Allah. Here, it's like us just getting through this world with a bunch of razor blades, and we're just getting unscathed. It's kind of going through the middle. We get some nicks and cuts here. What your relationship with Allah does, especially if it's strong, what it does is it takes the edge off of that thing that everyone else is going through, and we accept what's happening around us is just the decree of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and we just have to get through all of this madness, like you guys said, chaos, right? We just got to get through all of the chaos as unscathed as possible. We will have a few hiccups here and there, and if we do, we do tawbah to Allah. We ask Allah for forgiveness, right? But that's what it is, man. We're all in this world together.
Yeah.
No matter how religious you become, there's no such thing as ultimate peace. I swear, guys. I was talking to his other brother the other day. He was telling me it's a cool concept. He said, you know, um, the pious people before us, they used to pray tahajjud. Amir, do you know why they used to pray tahajjud? I was like, why? He's like, they used to emit this light that people can see from their rooms where they were praying. I was like, that's pretty cool. He's like, you know why I pray in tahajjud? I was like, why? He's like, because I'm waiting for that light. He literally wants to see this light. There's some stories that he read of the pious people where a light of nur would be emitted from there. Now, in on the face value, that's a pretty beautiful thing to aim for, right? But in reality, we don't stand up for tahajjud because of a light, right? We don't have sabr because Allah told us to, because, or we don't go close to Allah because our life is going to be perfect. People who try to shift their life and they try to become religious, we don't tell them, oh, your life is going to be perfect now. No, your life is probably very miserable now because the people closest to you are probably the first ones to fight you, right? Because that's what happened to Muhammad, right? The people closest to you are probably going to be the first ones to almost become like your enemies, right?
But Chef,
So
why is he waiting for this light? I'm confused.
so that's what I'm saying. He read in some books that when you pray in the middle of the night, Qiyam al-Layl, that there's pious people from the past that used to see this light emerge, and people going to see this light. So he's really interested in this light that you get from praying in the middle of the night. So he wants to see this light.
I disagree. You should have corrected him. So I
No,
told
no,
him it's
I did.
scientifically impossible. It cannot happen to you.
Okay, I did. But what I'm saying is, it's a really cool, awesome story, but that's not the reason why we stand up in the
Yeah.
middle of the night, right? And the same thing with believing in Allah. No one should ever tell anyone, "Oh, you become Muslim now, dude, your life is so easy." Don't tell him that, because his mother and father are probably going to hate him for the rest of his life now. You know, um, not rest of your life, but they're probably the first one to kick you out of your home.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes here in this world, man. It doesn't matter. You just have to be patient. Just try to get away unscathed, and just make it to the end. That's all it is.
You know when you said like it makes it easier to go through that the pain. It's funny because you know how some people actually like cut themselves or go through pain because it's pleasing. It's like pain and pleasure are almost at like the same level.
It
You
is.
know, it's just the mindset that makes it difficult, right? People who are actually cutting themselves because they're getting pleasure out of it.
Well,
So
well,
you can feel pleasure out of pain.
Yeah, you're right.
well. And the
I'm not
key.
saying people should do it, by the way. Just to
No,
disclaimer,
but
like don't
pain
try this
doesn't
on yourself.
necessarily have to be a physical pain, right? Pain is there's a lot of emotional or psychological pain, physical pain as well through. I'm sorry. Oh, so there's all these different types of pain, but I've read just in my own readings that pain is a pathway to a new station in your own relationship with your creator, so that you can develop a better relationship, so that you find some kind of solution, some kind of a better relation of maybe whether it's tawakkul or whatever, because this pain is creating a better relationship with your with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is improving your entire experience with the faith. You know, it's building your station a little higher. All your interactions with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are revolving around this pain that you're experiencing. So I think this is one of the things that I've kind of found profound in this whole quarantine situation, was that all the things that were kind of left unresolved in your mind, you're kind of working through all that stuff, that things that you may have never resolved. Maybe you've slighted someone in the past, you never resolved it, and you're kind of working through this time. It's kind of like prison, right? It's where you're kind of sent to your room, and you're thinking about a whole lot of things that you put in the back burner of your mind. You're like, and it's all kind of coming forward, and hopefully it's making you a better person. And the people I pity for the most are people who are just burning their life away playing video games and watching movies. Now, I love video games. Just an episode ago, me and Mort were talking about our gamer tags. We spend a responsible amount of time playing video games, maybe an hour and a half max, a day. But it's really saddening when you just hear about people who are talking about just spending all their time away. That they could
8 hours a day too, man. Yeah.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
burning 8+ hours a day watching Netflix and
Mhm.
I understand
So
people have
that's
their
it.
own way of coping, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that, how people are escaping from this and thinking that they might come out okay.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, it's also a good segue into like what to do practically, because I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think people want to know like how should they manage this anxiety. But I think people a lot of times like procrastination has an emotional aspect to it. A lot of times people tend to escape into video games and watching Netflix and YouTube videos because they don't want to deal with the anxiety, the emotion associated with something that's in front of them. And that's obviously not the way to do that. Whether that's an internal anxiety, existential issue, like where am I going in life, or it's something like I'm having problems with my spouse or my kids, or So instead of thinking about that, or I have a paper due, I'm gonna go and start playing video games. So I think the first thing that people have to really do is they have to create a schedule. Like I think that's the first advice I've given to every client of mine that I've worked with, and I've sat with them and I've worked like line by line, half an hour increments. What are you doing exactly? When are you doing it? How much are you doing? And then if it doesn't work, you have to fix it, but you have to have that. Otherwise, who's going to keep track? Like if you just, if you're somebody like, let's say you're a student, a college student, and you're off now, or you don't have the responsibility of going to class, who's going to watch over you if you're going to play video games for 5-6 hours or binge watch Netflix, right? So that I think is essential. I don't know how you are doing it, or are you able to maintain your schedules?
I don't know. Well, I tried to fit Tiger King as much as I can. I mean, it was very entertaining. I don't if you're very religiously inclined, there are some objectionable scenes that I fast forwarded through, and
Sure.
if you are going to watch it, I recommend you not to
Why
watch it
the
on.
first thing you have to say is sure, bro? You got a big smile on your face and saying sure, bro. Give the brother have a good opinion of your brother,
Yeah,
bro.
You're right. You're right. I shouldn't have. But I haven't seen Tiger King, so I don't know what the big
yeah. So, but it's. I don't know how to describe Tiger King. That's so funny. It's about zookeepers in America who are collectors of big cats, of lions and tigers, and they have competitors around the country that they are fighting for the title of the biggest big cat sanctuary in the country. And there's this.
But how did that become so fascinating? Also,
Because these guys are extreme characters, like just nutty to another level.
Characters. That would actually probably be a nice study for you to look at some of these guys. I'm being serious, dude. You should see the things that they deal with. The amount, like, I'll give you a small synopsis. Sorry, Sim.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just something I remember is that they're all like super. I don't want to say extreme personalities, but super like out there personalities. But they're dealing with such dangerous creatures, and they're very friendly with the creatures, right? So you can see that they find some type of peace of mind with having this edge that they're living on. And
yeah, they're very like polarizing, or just very eccentric characters who are more interesting than the cats themselves, because you kind of learn about like why eccentric people just seem to be so entertaining people, why people tend to gravitate towards them, want to learn about them. It's not necessarily the cats themselves, because once you've seen one tiger, how many more tigers do you need to see? Really, I mean, like, he's got hundreds of tigers in his sanctuary, and how many really do you need to see once you've seen a few, right? And that's what presents to you these different layers of, like, there's a polygamist, there's gay polygamist, and these are all like different types of keepers that are around the country. And there's that one lady in Florida who ends up killing her or at least the theory goes that she killed her husband.
Wait, this is all part of Tiger King?
Yeah, this is all part of Tiger. These are all real characters, and you wonder, like, how the hell did we ignore, or did this story not capture the headlines throughout the country? Because it's just a whole assembly of crazy characters. But anyway, that's enough advertising for Tiger King.
The question that I asked: how are you maintaining your schedule?
Yeah, you just talking about Tiger King, but what else?
That's great.
Sim, tell us, what are you doing?
So I tried to work out, but I messed up my ankle, and so I'm trying to do some kind of aerobic activity to replace my running habits. Generally my schedule would have been swimming every day, but that's out of the window because the gym is closed.
Dude, get an Airdyne, bro. You know what an Airdyne is?
Airdyne? Oh yes, that bike.
Bike with the handles that move too. Good on the joints. You don't need to run or anything, bro. Get a crazy cardio workout.
Problem with that is your papers fly everywhere when you have that thing running. Because it's like a big fan. It's like a big exercise bike that has a fan that's where the front wheel would be, right?
Yeah.
And
the resistance comes from the fan, basically.
Yeah.
The harder you push the fan, the more resistance there is.
But even that, like, okay, you're done. Let's just say you do a full hour workout, right? You still have all these different hours. You have your regular work, and even that, for some people, their job is their workday activities aren't that as busy as they would be when they would be in the office. For some, it's higher. Don't send me angry emails saying that, oh, my job, we're working twice as hard. It's because of you. We don't get to work from home. I'm not saying that, guys. There's some people whose activity has increased. Some people it has not. So let's just say you get that done. You still have at least a couple hours you've saved from what would have been your commute to work, right? You have a couple more hours that you're utilizing. So I've incorporated things like things I wanted to get good at, like painting, right? It's been a dream of mine I've always dabbled in it, and I never really took it seriously. So I went through at least 1,000 videos so far on YouTube on how to become a very good painter. Like, when I go into something, Sheikh Amr knows, like, I don't just dip my finger into it.
No, I saw some of your
I
paintings that you posted. They were beautiful, man. Mashallah.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so
Impressive.
much. Yeah,
No, I'm being serious. Impressive.
thank you.
Is that
Um,
one of them behind you,
yeah,
Sheikh?
no, that's
No, this. My daughter did that one.
Oh man, that's
that's
amazing, mashallah.
that is beautiful though. She's got some raw
Yeah.
talent. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so I've been working on that. I've been reading a lot. So many books that I've put aside, halfway read, didn't complete. Trying to do better things about like note taking, organizing. Sheikh Hammer, I showed you once a long time ago about how I use um, Microsoft. Was it Note? Was it Note?
Mhm.
Notepad. What
You
was it?
introduced me to a few things.
Yeah, so I keep like a way of actually organizing all the knowledge that you accumulate when you're reading books, and there's this one thing called OneNote by Microsoft, and OneNote is this book that or this program that actually helps you categorize all the different things that you're coming across through all the various books you read. So I know people are like me; they like reading many different things, and they like to kind of dip their finger into different subject areas. But the most frustrating thing about reading a book is that you've read it, and as time goes on, you forget about all the information that you've accumulated from reading that book. So, and there's also another problem related to books is that you have different mediums related to books. Now there's Audible, Scribd, all kinds of audio platforms for reading books, and you're not keeping track of all this knowledge. And I've just found this software to be helpful in organizing all the different subject matter that I come across with. So I've been doing a better job in organizing all my thoughts related to various subjects and categorizing that in this program. What and brushing up on history. I've had so many books related to the Ottomans that I didn't have a chance to get into. Going through that, and the fun part is that while you're doing this, you're explaining things to your kids too. So you see the wonder and amazement in your kids and your children's eyes. So as you teach them, you're also learning uh, skills and different abilities in how to transmit knowledge to children itself, right? And when you teach children, you're able to teach any other, anyone who has knowledge on a very superficial or very elementary level of knowledge on any subject. So you're always acquiring skills, and this is something that you can use to your benefit in, let's just say you don't even have a job at the end of this whole COVID process. You're able to accumulate different skills so that you can bring something to the workplace. You won't be at the behest of some kind of corporation. Maybe you can start up your own website. You can be your own entrepreneur at the end of this so that you have some kind of product to sell. You know, you've acquired a life skill that you can take forward with you. And that's something that I always wanted my children to learn, that you never are at the mercy of one tool to earn money. You shouldn't ever be a one trick pony. You should always try to accumulate different areas of knowledge. Like if everything goes to heck, I can become a handyman. You should know how to handle all the different facilities in your house so that you know how to do the maintenance and upkeep of them. Or whether, so you might like painting, or you might like creating halal music or whatever. I don't know. Whatever your thing is, delve into it. Use that spare time to acquire life skills that you can pass on to your children, and never be a one trick pony.
Good point. Yeah.
Um,
So going back to the schedule, I want to know what Sheikh Hamid does though. How do you spend your time?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you what you do, but it's fine. Now I'll go. My turn. No, I think it helps a lot. Is we still have somewhat of the same schedule in school, but our classes are condensed to half an hour each, so we end at like 2:10. Last period classes at like 2:10. So I teach like 5 periods, so I'm just kind of dispersed throughout the day. So that's good up until like 2 o'clock, 2:10. For me, I'm kind of that keeps me occupied, and I really need that. Um, the other issue is sometimes that I was having at the beginning. I was like, since you have a lot more time at home and you're doing everything from home, you start thinking, oh man, maybe I should have taught that instead. Maybe you actually have to protect your mind from going crazy too, in that sense, because you want to do so much, and you have to realize that nothing's changed, everything's the same. It's just your mind kind of playing tricks on you. And there's no such thing as a perfect scenario. That's what next year is for. Is just that's where the patience for teaching I think comes in. You have to wait for the next year. So for me, the cool thing for me is I'm gathering ideas as I teach. I'm just writing those down. So from the morning till 2:10, I'm kind of consumed. I'm getting a chance now since Ramadan is getting closer, and most likely I'm going to be leading Tarawih in my house. You know, we don't follow Amina with dudes by any means. So I'm going to be leading Tarawih in my house. So I have really forced to brush up on my Quran. Many areas are kacha, so
It's a tough crowd. Sheikh Amar's kids get really upset when he makes a mistake. After the salah's over, they'll throw tomatoes at him like, "Come on,
hey,
get your stuff together."
It's tomate, okay, bro? Tomatoes. Anyways, so no, I'm saying if you're gonna say it right in the proper place and time. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, we so that's what's keeping me busy. But for the other part, there's a lot of free reading. I'm able to do a lot of extra free reading. For me, I'm kind of like a baby in a grown man's body. So I'm just having a lot of fun with my kids, bro. Just playing around with them. Teaching them a little bit, helping them out. I'm starting to realize how much I need to even brush up on math because I have to help my kids with math now. I was like, what? Wait, So
Oh yeah, that
there's a
sucks.
lot of realizations that happen, dude. I know that I'm a firm believer that every little thing that happens to you, even a little hiccup that you feel, even if you're helping your son, first grade son with something, and the see this side funny story. I'm reading the directions for his homework. I'm like, wait, what does this actually mean? Because I'm like, I have to bro, I gotta think like a first grader now. I'm thinking too hard. I was like, wait, does this mean this or does this mean this?
Oh, we lost your audio, Sheikh. Sheikh, we lost your audio.
I think he lost his audio too.
Yeah, I don't think he knows that he cannot be heard.
Let's see how
It's
long
it's
he'll
so
take
adorable.
before he
Let's see
realizes.
how long he can keep talking for without knowing that we can't hear you, Sheikh.
Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, now you can hear me.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, now
All
we
right.
can hear you.
What did you do? Did you kick apart the mic cord?
No, it says internet unstable. That's all it says. Even though I have pretty high speed internet.
At least your aqidah is not unstable.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
Weekends are good, a little more lax, more cooking. Oh, the other thing I started doing more, I started cooking a lot more. It just became more fun.
Mm.
Yeah, try not to waste a lot of time.
Cooking is
But
fun in this crisis. Yeah, I have all the time in the world to chop up everything and take my
take your
time in
man.
cooking. I don't know, Dr.
Dude,
Khan, are you a chef?
I cook some things. There's some things that I've perfected over time. And I like cooking. I like preparing stuff for kids and giving wife some time off. I make the tea usually in the evening, in the morning. I made Kashmiri chai recently, or last year actually, but I've been making that more frequently.
Whoa! Hang on. I want to pause about the Kashmiri chai.
Yeah.
Okay, I've attempted this elusive Kashmiri chai all the
You can't
time.
just say that and just brush over. You gotta.
Yeah, because the Kashmiri chai is not it's not an easy process, and
It
the
takes a long
key,
time.
yeah, the people who do it right are able to bring out a natural pink color. Are you able to bring that pink color?
Yes, I am, more or less.
Because
I think for the pink color to come out, though, you have to use green tea, right? You don't use black tea, right?
No, you don't use black tea. Use green tea. And the key is you have to really cook it for at least an hour.
Wow.
And then you got to keep adding water, and then towards the end you add cold water, and then have it on low heat for 20 minutes or so. There's some tricks to it that I just kind of followed the recipe, and it worked out really well. But you make the tea portion of it, and then you can keep it in the fridge. When you're ready, mix that with milk, and I also like to add almonds and pistachios and some coconuts, some other goodness to it.
Wait, do you grind them up or you just throw them in like?
Yeah, no, I grind them up, and then I mix it up when I'm boiling it with the milk.
Yes, I love.
Uh,
So does it have a lot of caffeine in it too, or what?
I don't know. I'm sure it has a lot of
No, I
everything
mean,
in
does
it,
it wake
but
you up when you drink it, or is it just more of a flavor thing?
I no, it's just a flavor. I like it for the flavor. Maybe it does. I don't know the amount of tea that it has. It probably does, but I don't
If it's
really
green
drink
tea,
it.
it's gonna give you energy. It's gonna have some level of caffeine, right? So you can't.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
sure.
just wondering how much he
I'm sure.
uses. Like, I know some Kashmiris they make like a whole gallon at a time.
Yeah, so I do. I do make a whole. I make a whole jug and I keep it in the fridge. And then when I'm ready to, make some. And now you also put salt in it. So real Kashmiri chai
Yeah.
is supposed to be salty, not sweet.
Man, it was the most frustrating experience making Kashmiri chai. I ended up putting some ruafza in the middle of the tea
Rosa.
to make it pink a little bit to give
To
it
make
a.
it pink.
That was a
And
Hazan there,
everyone
bro.
was like, "Oh, mashallah, she knows how to make Kashmiri chai." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
They didn't like get the sense of the rosy, sugary, sweet
I
stuff
don't think
of it.
they even ever had real Kashmiri chai, so you're
Okay,
just like,
okay,
okay.
okay.
They probably like it was.
I
It's a,
started making it at. I started making it at Khalil Center, and Human is a big tea guy, and
yeah.
he's the executive director there. So he would make Turkish tea almost every day. And then when I started making Kashmiri chai, people were liking my chai so much they were requesting Kashmiri chai more than Turkish tea. So there was a little bit of like jealousy going on there.
That's good.
But
It's a
but we
competition.
resolved it. Yeah, it was. But I gave up because it takes a lot of time, at least for work. At home, I still. So I make lamb. There's this one recipe. I think it's a Afghani recipe, but you make lamb and you cook it its own fat, and you just add tomatoes and green peppers and salt. And that's it. You don't add any other spices in there, and it's so good.
Yeah, lamb is naturally
Like,
so greasy. I love it. Do you actually wash it or do you rinse
in the
it?
beginning, yeah, I
Yeah,
rinse it in the beginning, but I don't cut off any of the fat.
yeah, that's the best way,
Um,
bro.
yeah,
I
so
was telling
there's
people
some
like,
things, but
you keep all the fat. I was like, bro, that's all the flavor is. Call me gluttonous, call
yeah,
me whatever you want, man. That's for all the
it's
flavor.
it's natural. But yeah, so the way I maintain my schedule is that there's two concepts that I want to make sure that I like stress upon. One is the time and space, right? So you have to have time allocated for tasks, and you have to have space allocated for tasks, right? So what ends up happening is that if you're using your like desk for office work and for video games or watching something on Netflix and then for talking to people, then you're not going to feel that energy when you want to do work, right? You're not
Mm.
going to feel that warmth when you want to talk to people. So you have to separate each space for things as well, just like you separate each time. So like in this basement, this is my office space here, but I have a recliner like right here. So like if I feel a little bit like stressed out, I move from here, I go sit over there, and I relax. Or I'll put on something to watch, or I'll play a game or something on my phone. But I try to maintain that rule. Bed is for sleeping. This desk is for working. Dining table is for eating. Because if you don't do that, then your mind's not going to be able to because your body has a memory, right? So if you don't follow that pattern, then it's gonna think that it's okay to, like people who sit on their beds and read or do homework or do the office work or watch TV, then they can't sleep when it's time to go to sleep
Yeah.
because their
Mm.
body's not used to that. So I try to maintain that, and then time wise, alhamdulillah, work. There's a lot of work, so I barely get it done in time. Then I try to spend some time with kids. The rest of my time is with family. Extra time I've been spending writing. My next one is on parenting in this situation, quarantine, because people were asking questions about parenting. So that's how I spend my free time.
Dr. Khan, as we wrap things up, I know you got to run to another meeting soon.
Oui.
How or what parting piece of advice would you give struggling spouses who are maintaining unreasonable levels of social distancing during this crisis? It seems like a lot of people are at each other's throats, and they want to know how to, um, come out of this with a better relationship with their spouse. Should they contact a facility like Khalil Center where you work at and arrange some kind of counseling therapy sessions? What kind of advice would you give them?
Wear a mask
So
first.
at home, or are you talking about like when you're fighting with each other?
No, when they come to visit you, son. When they come to visit you.
Oh, okay. Our offices are closed right now. We're doing everything virtually, so it's all
Okay.
good. But the thing is, I think one is to recognize the natural anxiety that exists, right? I mean, women are overwhelmed right now because of homeschooling. We got so used to sending our kids off for like 8 hours and then doing other tasks at home, and some women were like working full time and had their own things going on. Now they have to play this dual role, and it's really challenging for them. So I think husbands should definitely like have some empathy towards that. Then generally from the other side, empathy that men are not used to being stuck at home. Like I need to go out and like take a walk or something because I'm just not used to it. I'm an introvert naturally, so by choice I would stay in, but being forced to, I don't like it. So there's going to be anxiety because of that, right? So you have to learn to mitigate that anxiety. The other thing is find ways to spend time away from each other. I give this advice to when people first get married, in the honeymoon phase. I'm like, I know you want to be with each other, but trust me, you want to spend time away from each other because you don't want to feel like you're stuck, or you don't feel like you don't have that option or that opportunity. So I would say that have a space where one or both of you can go like whenever it's necessary, take some time off, and then switching roles between the two. Like after work, when us guys we go back to our families, we have to give some time off to the ladies, right? Like take over the kids for a little bit. It's not going to be for the rest of the day for a lot of people. Like it's hard for, like you were saying earlier, for anyone to deal with kids, especially guys. But at least you have to have some time off for them, and or take over whatever tasks you can. So I think that it's the word I'm saying, like one of the biggest, or the two or three of the biggest factors that have been shown in research for Muslim couples that cause divorce is like finances and in-laws, and the silly thing is a lot of that you can control, but we don't put effort into controlling or in maintaining that, and so what ends up happening is it causes all the stress that builds up over time, and then it leads to divorce. And so right now, if you can identify where the anxiety is coming from, you can compartmentalize it, mitigate it. That's better to do that, and then have empathy for each other. That it's a tough time for everybody. But if it gets very like out of hand and you need somebody else, then definitely reach out to any psychologist, therapist, counselor, Khulus center, anywhere.
Dr. Fahad Khan, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Your book, go ahead and mention it and where to get that.
Oh, how to maintain your sanity during these insane times. You can get it on Amazon. And then, like I said, if you need a PDF, I'm not gonna judge you. Just send me a message, email. I'll send one to you. And then my next one's going to be on parenting, so probably be on Amazon as well.
Parenting.
It's like $3 or something on Amazon.
How long is this? How long is the PDF going to be for free? I'm being serious. Like people are probably
no. Personally, I can give it to you for free. It doesn't matter.
Whenever.
The book, whenever you want it.
Yeah, Amazon has like there's like an Amazon surcharge or something like that. But yeah, thank you again, Dr. Khan. Yeah, please don't be a stranger. And for the listeners out there, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, comment in the comment section below. We have patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. And as always, make sure you click on like and subscribe on the video. It's very important you do so that the channel can grow. Thank you, everyone. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.